Now let's try to minimize a functional dependency set. The reason why we want to minimize this, it will be easy to represent lots of functional dependencies in a smaller form. If you have very less functional dependencies and which is going to convey the same meaning, it is obviously easy for us to store it in the computer, isn't it? So what I mean to say is, if you have a set of functional dependencies F, and if you could minimize it to other set of functional dependencies G in such a way that G covers F and F covers G and G is minimal. So what do I mean by minimal is, you will not be able to delete either the right hand side of a production, or sorry, either right hand side of a FD or the left hand side of a FD, and you could still maintain this property, right? That is called minimal. Minimal means you cannot delete anything from it further. So once, let us say you got a functional dependency set G in such a way that it is covering F and F is covering G, which means both are equivalent to each other, and moreover G is minimal, which means you will not be able to delete anything from G and still have this property in such a way that if you could get something, right, then we can say that G is minimal, right? Minimal cover of F. So what is the advantage? It contains very less number of productions, and moreover it contains less number of attributes in the left hand side. So anyway, if a FD set is already in its minimal form, you will not be able to minimize it. In case if it is not in the minimal form, you will be able to minimize it, right? Let's see the procedure. If you follow few steps, it will be easy, right? Yes, you can obviously use that the properties of functional dependencies, but it's going to take a lot of time, and the answer might not be right also. So we shall have a different procedure. If you follow that procedure, always a minimal set is guaranteed if it exists. Okay. Now see this procedure to minimize this set. First step is split the FDs in such a way that right hand side contains single attributes. Always see that right hand side is going to contain single attributes before you apply the procedure, because it will be easy for us to eliminate it that way. So see this. If I have A determines BC, then break it into A determines B and A determines C. Why is it important is, by breaking it this way, we can determine whether we could remove B or we could remove C or we could remove both of them. So if I have both of them in combined manner, I'll not able to test if B is redundant or C is redundant. Once I split it, then I can test if B is redundant or C is redundant independently. Okay. And next one is, find the redundant FDs and delete them from the set. So once you split it like this, find the redundant FDs and delete it from the set. When can you say that FD is redundant? You remove that FD and see that from the remaining FDs you are able to derive it somehow, which means, see this, if you have any set like this containing A determines B, B determines C and A determines C, right? So here you can remove A determines C, because you will be able to derive this even without it, which means without this, if you try to find out A plus that contains C, right? If we using these two only, if you try to find out A plus, what you get? A, B and C, which means without this we are able to get A plus which contains C, therefore it is obviously redundant, so that is why you could remove it. Next one is, find the redundant attributes on the LHS and delete them. So you can even find redundant attributes on the LHS left hand side. For example, if I have FDS AB determines C, right, then one of them may be redundant, and that one you can easily find out in this way. See this, you find out B plus. If B plus contains A, then this is redundant. Okay, it is not straightforward to understand, just think about it. See, if B plus contains A, then A is redundant here. The reason is, the entire purpose of this FD is to derive C, determine C, isn't it? Now when you try to start with only, when you try to have AB plus, definitely you are going to get C, fine. And in case if B has the capacity to determine A, then B plus will first contain A, and then using AB, you can determine C. Therefore this turns out to be redundant. Got it? So in case if B plus contains A, A is not required for this functional dependency, because just with B plus you will be able to get A, and anyway AB is going to imply C, right? Therefore if A plus contains B, right, then B, you can easily delete B, or if B plus contains A, you can delete A. Got it? Now let's see this example. With this example I'll explain you all these steps, maybe it might be clear then. Okay, so first step is you try to split them. So step number 1 is you try to split them in such a way that right hand side contains only one attribute. See, first production A determines C, only one attribute is there, and AC determines D, only one attribute is there. E determines A, one attribute is there. I am splitting it. Okay, E determines D, one attribute, and then E determines H. Now what you do is take each production one by one and see without that if that production could be covered by the remaining, which means if I delete it, right, then without it I'll see if this one can be covered by the remaining. A determines C. From the remaining I'll try to find out A plus. If I find out A plus from the remaining, what do I get? I get A. That's it, I think, nothing else. Therefore A plus does not contain C, which means without this production A does not have the capacity to determine C, therefore it is required. Got it? And now let's see about this. Take this one and delete this, and from the remaining, which means this one, this one, this one, and this one, you try to see if it could be covered. So without this production I'll just try to find out AC plus. If I find out AC plus, I get AC. That's it, nothing else, and I don't get D. Therefore without this production AC will not be able to determine D, therefore this production is required. And now let's see this. So take this production, delete it, and in the remaining production see if you could get that A in E plus. Let us find out E plus. E plus contains E, and because of E I get D and H, right? But there is no way I can get A. In fact there is no other production which can determine A without this. Check that. A is not present as right hand side anywhere, so there is no way you will be able to determine A unless it is in the left hand side, right? Therefore it is required. And what about this? Let's see this. Without this production you try to find out E plus, and you see if D can be derived. So if I find out E plus, then it contains E, right? And because of E I get A, and because of A I get C, and because of AC I get D. Yes, so even H is also present, but it doesn't matter. So E plus is going to contain D. Therefore without this production I am still able to get D, therefore this production is useless. Got it? So sorry, this FD is useless, right? So you can actually delete that FD. Now what about this one? Again do the same thing. Assume that it is already deleted, don't take into consideration. Now let's check this one. E determines H. So without this, right, and without this, in fact, because that has already been deleted. Now without these two, just find out E determines H and see if you will be able to get anything here, right? So E determines H. I'm going to find out E plus without these two, because it is already found out to be redundant and removed, and now we are going to remove it and see in the remaining if we are going to get H. So anyway we are not going to get H because it is simple. See this, right hand side of any of the other productions does not contain H, so how can I get H here? There is no way, isn't it? Unless the right hand side of other productions contain H, we cannot get it. See, in this case right hand side of other productions contain D, that is why I am able to determine D without using this production. So it is not possible, so it cannot be deleted, right? So it turns out that only this particular FD can be deleted, not the others. So after deleting this particular FD, should I again check if anything becomes redundant? Actually, after adding something, some other production might get redundant. After deleting something, some other production might not get deleted. Therefore, Therefore, you can just do it one time and stop it, which means just go through it in one cycle and you find out what are the functional dependencies that could be deleted, and once you find out, delete them and leave it. Okay, you need not do it second time. Now let's go to the second step. So what is second step? See, first step in fact decides about the right hand side. So since right hand side is containing only one attribute, deleting FD is nothing but deleting the right hand side, isn't it? So first step is about finding out the let's say it is second step, right? This entire thing is second step. This writing this is first step and deleting it is second step. Okay, now second step is about finding out the redundancies in the right hand side. Deleting FD is nothing but deleting the right hand side, since right hand side has only one attribute. And the third step is about deleting redundancies in the left hand side. Now when will there be redundancy in the left hand side? Whenever there is more than one attribute in the left hand side, right? So if there is only one attribute in the left hand side, or if there is only one attribute in the right hand side, that will be taken care in the second step, because deleting the FDs is nothing but deleting the left hand side if there is only one attribute, or deleting the right hand side if there is only one attribute. Now when there is more than one attribute, then we go to the third step. In this we shall see if in the left hand side, if you have more than one attribute, if you could delete one of the attributes, right? So from the remaining set, what is remaining set? A determines C is remaining, AC determines D is remaining, E determines A, and E determines H. These four are remaining. Now we want to find out what could be deleted from this further. So with these things we need not check about them because they have already been taken care here, right? So only concern is this one. Now, is A redundant? When will A be redundant? If C plus contains A, then you need not write A here. The reason is you can find out C plus first, and C plus if it anyway contains A, then AC is going to determine C, therefore C is just enough to determine D, right? So are you getting this? If C plus contains A, then you find C plus, it is going to give you AC, then AC is going to determine D anyway, therefore writing C determines D is enough, right? So let's find C plus in this entire production and in this entire thing, C plus, right? And then we shall see if C plus contains A. Either you include it or you don't include it, it doesn't matter. While you are finding C plus, either you include it or don't include it, it doesn't matter, because it is already containing AC. Unless C plus contains A, right, this functional dependency doesn't make any change. So when you are testing for this extra redundancy of the left hand side, either you have it or don't have it, doesn't matter. When you are talking about the right hand side, you are supposed to remove it and then test it in the remaining. But when you are talking about the left hand side, you need not delete this production. Either you have it or don't have it, it really doesn't matter. Okay, now what does C plus contain? It contains C, only C, isn't it? It does not contain A, therefore A is required. Now what about A plus? If A plus contains C, then C can be deleted. Now let's see A plus. A plus contains C from here. This is enough. You need not take it further, right? So you just found out that A plus contains C. You can stop it here and you can say that C is redundant, right? So this is the only production which has two attributes, right? And one of the attribute turned out to be redundant. Then what did we get? We got A determines C, and then A determines D, and then E determines A, and then E determines H. Got it? Right? So this is the minimal set. If you want, you could actually merge it, right? How can you merge it? A determines C and A determines D. You would have written it as A determines CD, right? And E determines A and A determines H. You could have written it as E determines AH, right? Therefore, this is the minimal set for this set. So you have actually minimized it into two productions. Given 4 productions, we got 2 productions, right? Fine. So anyway, minimal means you should not be able to reduce anything, and you should not be able to get the same thing. And if you have any doubt after doing this procedure, I suggest that you just see if both of them cover each other, right? Which means you should be able to get this production from there. See this? A plus should contain CD here. So if you find out A plus contains AC and AC contains, because of AC you got D. Therefore this one is covered. And E plus should contain AH here. So E plus will contain AD and H. Yes, it is covered. And now this one should be covered here, which means A should be able to derive C. Yes, and AC should be able to derive D. Yes, in fact A itself is able to derive D, and E should be able to derive AD. E is able to derive A and A is able to derive D, right? And E should be able to determine H, right? Yes, E is able to determine H, right? Therefore both are covered by each other, and so they are equivalent, and moreover it is containing minimal number of attributes, which means you cannot delete anything from this further and you can get the same property holding. What is the property? Both cover each other, right? This is how you can minimize it. Okay.